She stood by the window, twirling the medal from her last marathon in her hands. I asked why she looked sad, and she replied, "I'm just thinking. Maybe I've missed something important in life?" At that moment, I didn't yet know what she meant. I had always known her as an active, passionate person. Running, marathons, morning jogs, all of it brought her joy. But in the past few months, her interests had changed. On the shelf among the trophies and medals, books with bright covers began to appear. Awaken Your Inner Power, Mindfulness, The Path to Happiness. At first, I didn't pay much attention to it. She always loved new hobbies. But then there were webinars, recordings of training sessions, and long phone conversations filled with enthusiastic phrases. "You don't understand. It's not just words, it's a revelation." I nodded and smiled but couldn't share her enthusiasm. It amused me how seriously she took every thought of her new guru, a charismatic man with a beard and a piercing gaze who spoke about transformations and personal growth. I kept waiting for this interest to pass. But one evening she approached me with shining eyes. "I'm going to an off-site training session. It's a unique chance to be reborn." I just smirked. "Reborn? You're not joining a cult, are you?" She was offended. Her face darkened as if I had betrayed her dream. Before leaving, she left a notebook with motivational quotes on the table. I flipped through it randomly and came across a note. "I deserve more. I am free from judgment." I gripped the notebook in my hands, feeling a strange unease. For the first time in a long while, I truly felt uncomfortable. When she came back from the training, everything had changed. But I still didn't understand to what extent. When she returned, her gaze was different, bright but cold. She hugged me, but the gesture lacked warmth. For a moment, it felt like I was embracing a stranger. I noticed the changes immediately. She entered the house lightly, as if shedding old skin. I waited for stories. She usually came back from marathons full of impressions. But this time, she remained silent, as if everything important had been left somewhere out there, beyond our home. "How was the trip?" I asked, trying to sound natural. "Incredible," she replied shortly, nodding absent-mindedly. Her eyes held a distant look. In the kitchen, I saw her phone charging, silent, as if it had lost its purpose. Before, she never let it out of her hands. I instinctively checked the screen, not a single notification. She was sitting in the living room, flipping through a book of motivational quotes. I approached, touching her shoulder. "Maybe we can have dinner together?" She slowly turned her head as if returning from another world. "Not now. I need some time to think." Her words echoed within me like a crack spreading across glass. I stood in the doorway, unable to move. What did she mean? What was she thinking about? Later, when she fell asleep on the couch, I quietly approached. On the floor lay her notebook, open to the last page. I leaned in and read, "Rebirth requires courage. Don't be afraid to leave the past behind." I felt a chill in my chest. Was this about us? Why did her words sound so foreign now? That night, I couldn't close my eyes. I didn't know who had returned to me after that training, my wife or someone else. I waited for stories about the training, but instead, silence settled in. She looked right through me as if I had become invisible. The next morning, she got up earlier than usual. I heard the sound of water in the shower, then her quiet footsteps down the corridor. She came into the kitchen without looking at me and silently made coffee. "How are you?" I asked awkwardly. "Fine," she replied evenly, almost rehearsed. She used to love sharing details about her trips, the people she met, the exercises she enjoyed. But now I saw only calm silence. "Don't you want to tell me about the training?" I tried again. "There's no point," her voice was quiet but firm. "You wouldn't understand." Those words hurt my pride. I had always considered myself her support, the one who would stand by her in tough times. But now I felt irrelevant. I stepped closer and touched her shoulder. "Hey, we're together. I want to understand." She turned, but in her gaze I read regret, not for her words but for the fact that I still wasn't on the same wavelength. Later, I found her phone on the kitchen table and opened chat with her friend. The last message was short. "He won't understand. I don't want to live in a cage." I froze. A chill spread inside me. I recalled her words, "You wouldn't understand." These weren't just words, they were a barrier between us that I couldn't break. She had run off to her own world again, leaving me alone with my thoughts. I still didn't know that the barrier between us would only grow stronger. And that her newfound freedom wasn't just about new perspectives on life. She started spending more time alone, with books, on her laptop, with earbuds plugged into her phone. We used to do everything together, but now it felt like we were living in parallel worlds. One evening, I walked into the bedroom and found her meditating. A neatly laid out mat on the floor, surrounded by candles. She was sitting with her eyes closed, gently swaying to the rhythm of soft music. I wanted to say something like, "Really? Candles, but I held back. She noticed me but didn't open her eyes. I shifted uncomfortably, unsure how to fit into her new space. Let's go to the movies? I whispered. She just shook her head. I don't want the bustle. I need to be in silence. We used to pick movies together, debate directors. Now her world was filled with ocean sounds and the voices of online gurus. I quietly closed the door and tiptoed back to the living room, feeling like an uninvited guest in my own home. That night, I couldn't sleep. I lay on the couch, listening to her steps in the bedroom. Sometimes I heard fragments of phrases, either mantras or whispers. At some point, I got up and went to the kitchen for water. There on the table was her notebook, once again opened to the last page. This time it read, "Fear is an anchor. Let go of it to become yourself." I traced the letters with my fingers. Let go? Who was she planning to let go of me? Herself? The thought lodged in my throat like a lump. When I returned to the living room, I saw her shadow in the hallway. She stood there, watching me silently, as if wanting to say something but then changing her mind. I felt the wall between us grow taller, invisible yet unmistakably real. The next day, I decided to check her laptop. She had been taking it everywhere lately. I didn't know that the truth would turn out to be far harsher than I expected. In the morning, I woke up on the couch. She was already gone, either for a run or to another webinar. On the table was her laptop, left open. I hesitated, but anxiety got the better of me. The screen was off, but I knew her password, a simple combination she hadn't changed for years. I opened the laptop and saw a chat, the same one where she talked to her guru. My heart pounded and my hands shook as I scrolled up. He called her a sunny soul. He wrote about how he sensed her inner struggle and wanted to help her break free from everything holding her back. You deserve to be happy, Amanda. Let go of anything that keeps you anchored. I swallowed the lump in my throat. What did he mean by that? I kept scrolling. When you're with me, you feel your true self. I want to show you a world without limitations. I slammed the laptop shut as if trying to lock his words back inside. A wave of anger and confusion hit me. These weren't just motivational words, they sounded like temptation. An invitation to a new life. Without me. When she came back, I said nothing. She kicked off her sneakers and smiled as if nothing had happened. How was your run? I forced out, trying to mask the trembling in my voice. Easy. I feel like a new version of myself. Her words cut deep. I searched her eyes for the familiar warmth but found only calmness. She started making breakfast, humming a new mantra. I pretended to check my email, but my thoughts kept dragging me back to those messages. You have been talking to this guru for a while? I asked, trying to sound casual. Oh, yes. He's very supportive. Understands me like no one else. I clenched my fists but said nothing. She looked at me over her coffee cup and squinted. You're not jealous, are you? She smirked. No. I mumbled, though inside everything screamed with hurt. Good. You know, it's not about a relationship. It's about freedom. Freedom. I wanted to ask, freedom from whom? But I stayed silent. Something inside me already knew the answer. That night, I couldn't sleep again. I couldn't come to terms with the fact that our cozy world was falling apart and she didn't even notice how the cracks were widening. She was retreating more and more into herself. Even when she was near, her thoughts seemed far away. I felt like a shadow in her new world. I began noticing how often she would shut herself in a room with her laptop. Conversations grew shorter, glances colder. Every gesture of hers seemed focused on an inner world where I had no access. One evening, when I came home from work, her notebook was lying on the table. I was about to put it back in its place, but my eyes caught a fresh entry. Not everyone understands my desire for freedom, but I no longer want to live by someone else's expectations. I stood there holding the notebook, my throat tightening. Did she see our family as someone else's expectations? In the evening, I tried to talk. I approached her while she was making dinner and gently hugged her from behind. Hey! Maybe we could go to the lake this weekend? Like before. Take the tent. She froze for a moment, then slipped out of my embrace. There's no point. I don't want to go back to old habits anymore. It felt like I was hearing her for the last time. I slowly let go of my hands and watched as she continued chopping vegetables. So, what do you want to move towards? I asked cautiously. She paused, put down the knife, and looked at me with a strange kind of sympathy. I don't want to waste time on things that don't bring inner growth. Later, I overheard her talking on the phone. The volume was low, but I still caught a few words. Yes, I'm ready. Am I afraid? No. I just feel it's the right thing. I stood frozen in the hallway, not daring to enter. That night, I couldn't sleep again. She lay beside me, quiet, calm, as if nothing had happened. But I lay awake, listening to her steady breathing. My fear now breathed in sync with me. I quietly got up and walked to the dresser. In the top drawer was the box with her marathon medals. I pulled one out, the very one that started it all. It no longer hung on the wall as it used to. I clenched it in my hand, trying to figure out where I had missed the moment when she became a stranger. In the morning, I knew I couldn't take it anymore. I had to know the truth, even if it would destroy everything. I couldn't keep pretending that everything was fine. Her silence had become deafening, and the house felt empty even when she was around. I decided to lay it all on the line. That morning, I woke up with firm resolve. She was sitting at the kitchen table with a cup of green tea, scrolling through her phone. I walked over and, without hiding my tension, sat down across from her. "We need to talk," I began, trying to keep my voice steady. She looked up at me calm, as if she had been preparing for this conversation for a long time. "About what?" she asked without any surprise. "You're always somewhere else, Amanda. What's going on?" Her face remained calm, but I noticed a hint of pity in her eyes. "I'm searching for myself," she replied gently. "And me? You don't need me anymore?" I couldn't hold back. "It's not about you. It's about me. About how I finally feel alive." The words cut through me. I stayed silent, trying to gather my thoughts while she kept looking at me, not angry, not irritated, just different. "And the guru? Is he part of this new world of yours too?" I blurted out, unable to contain myself. Her lips trembled. "You don't understand. He just helps me realize myself." I clenched my fists, trying to suppress the anger. "Are you in love with him?" She shook her head but averted her gaze. "It's not love. It's inspiration." I jumped up, not believing my ears. "Inspiration? You go to those trainings, spend hours chatting with him, and then say it's just inspiration? You don't understand how important it is to me." For the first time in a long while, emotion broke through in her voice. "I can't live the old way anymore." Her eyes glistened, but she didn't cry. I looked at her and felt our familiar world shattering into tiny pieces. "What about me?" I asked quietly. She turned to the window, gripping the cup so hard that her knuckles turned white. "I'm tired of pretending." Those words sounded like a verdict. I knew there was no turning back. I walked over to the dresser, opened the drawer, and took out the box with her medals. "Do you remember how happy you were about these victories? How we planned your runs together? Do you even remember us?" She looked at the medals in silence but didn't reach out to take them. I could feel that I was losing her for good. And at that moment, a thought crossed my mind that sent chills down my spine. Maybe she had already left and I just hadn't realized it yet. Her words kept spinning in my mind, tearing my thoughts apart. "I'm tired of pretending." What did that mean? Pretending to be who? A wife? Me? I felt like I was on the verge of going insane. I couldn't stand the emptiness anymore. When she left for her morning run, I decided to find out once and for all. I knew she often left her laptop on when she went out, and when I walked over to the table, I saw the familiar glow of the screen. The chat with the guru. I started scrolling down, barely breathing. "I'm ready for a new beginning. You deserve freedom, Amanda. I'll help you break free from your old life. Wait for me on Friday. I'll come for you." My fingers went cold. Friday? Today was Friday. I tried to find something else, plans, messages with friends, nothing. Just that chat, and the last message. "I'll take you away from the place where you're not understood." I felt the ground slipping from under my feet. She was planning to leave. Leave everything we had built together. For whom? For this smug manipulator? I couldn't believe it. Then I noticed her open bag by the door, neatly packed clothes, passport, bus tickets. Destination, a small coastal town. The very place where his seminar was being held. The sound of the door closing made me flinch. I turned and saw her at the entrance, surprised, confused. "Are you going through my stuff?" Her voice rang with tension. "Are you leaving?" I shot back, barely holding back the despair. She didn't answer. She just gripped the strap of her bag as if preparing to defend herself. "You were going to leave without saying anything?" I almost shouted. Her face hardened as if she had finally made up her mind. "I can't live like this anymore. This isn't the life I dreamed of." "What about me? Us? Everything we built together?" My voice broke into a whisper. "You don't understand," she said, as if convincing herself. "It's not about you. It's about me. I need to start over." I looked at her, searching for the woman I loved. But standing before me was a stranger, strong, resolute, ready to leave. "Did you choose him?" I barely managed to say. She remained silent, but her eyes said it all. When she walked out the door, I realized I couldn't stop her. I just stared at the empty hallway, trying to comprehend. She was gone. The door slammed shut, and the silence in the house was deafening. I didn't know what to do, try to get her back or just let her go. But what's the point of trying if she had already made her choice? I stood in the hallway, staring into the emptiness as if trying to convince myself it was a mistake. Any moment, she would come back, say she had changed her mind, that it was just a fleeting weakness. But the hours dragged on and the house remained empty. I sat down on the couch, burying my face in my hands. I used to laugh at her marathons, saying they were just a trendy hobby. I never thought that one day her quest for herself would take her so far away from me, from us. Amidst the silence, I heard a faint vibration. Her phone, left behind on the shelf. I picked it up, hoping for a message. But it was a call. On the screen, the guru's number. My heart clenched, but I answered. Amanda? The voice was surprised, gentle. It's not her, I cut in. Silence. I felt thousands of questions racing through my mind. What do you want from her? I asked, gritting my teeth. She needs support. She's found her calling. His voice was calm, as if he'd been expecting this moment all along. Do you even realize you've ruined a family? I snapped. A family? He chuckled. It was lost long before I appeared. You just didn't see it. I froze. His words were like a slap in the face, piercing, painful, but truthful. I remembered how often I laughed at her dreams, dismissed her desire for something new. Maybe I really did lose her long before he came into the picture. You don't know anything about her, I tried to argue. I know one thing, she was looking for freedom. And you kept her locked in your world. That's not true, I whispered, but my voice sounded uncertain. The call ended. I put the phone down on the table, feeling anger mixing with guilt. What if he was right? What if my certainty that I knew her was just an illusion? I walked over to the wall where her marathon medals used to hang. Now there were just a few empty nails left. I tore one off and clenched it in my hand as if I could hold onto the past if I gripped hard enough. I didn't know what to do with this realization. The guru was right about one thing, I really didn't understand her. But can understanding change what's already broken? She was gone. Only an empty house remained and the lingering sense of failure. But amid the pain, a thought emerged. Maybe it wasn't about her. Maybe it was about me. Days blurred into a gray mass. I got up early, wandered aimlessly through the empty rooms, sat at the table, and just stared out the window. Everything seemed dull, like an old photograph. Her things were still in their places, a sweater on the back of the chair, an empty mug in the kitchen, her toothbrush in the bathroom. I tried not to touch them, as if preserving her traces. But what weighed most was the notebook on the shelf. It seemed to pull me in, forcing me to reread her notes over and over. On the last page, I noticed a new entry I hadn't seen before. You can't change another person, but you can change yourself. I stared at those words for a long time, trying to understand who they were meant for. For her? For me? For the first time, I wondered, what had I been doing all this time? I was so sure of myself, my rightness, our shared path. But I never once asked her what she wanted. I thought my stability was the foundation of our union, but perhaps she saw it as a cage. The next day, I packed her things into one box. Carefully folded the medals, the notebook, the self-help books. I didn't plan to throw them away, I just couldn't bear to see reminders of her leaving. When I carried the box to the storage room, I noticed a piece of paper at the bottom. I unfolded it, and inside was her letter. I never wanted to hurt you. But if I stayed, I would have destroyed both of us. I'm grateful for everything we had. I found myself, but I lost us. I'm sorry. The words seemed to settle deep in my soul, quietly, without hysteria. I sat on the floor, clutching the letter to my chest. I tried to fight the guilt, but I couldn't. She didn't just leave, I had pushed her to it without realizing. Almost mechanically, I opened my laptop and started searching for the nearest support group meetings. I knew I needed to deal not just with her departure but with myself. I didn't want to get stuck in this state. A week passed. I still thought about her, but the pain had softened like an old scar. For the first time since she left, I went out for a run, alone, without her. My breathing was uneven, my legs ached, but I kept running as if trying to catch up with the version of myself that could have understood her. Running became my way to sort through my thoughts. I realized she didn't leave because of the guru, but because she needed freedom from her own emptiness. I couldn't save her because I never saw the real her. Now, I was searching for myself on that lonely trail, alone, but ready for change.